Hey everybody, Matty Ice here. I'm going to do a quick guide on how you can do the Insight Terminus Grandmaster as easily as possible. And then at the end of the video I'll go over loadouts and recommendations that I have for this, along with a couple tips here and there. So as you're going to go through the intro here, you're just going to sparrow your way in, and you're going to encounter a couple barrier champions. Now these are just normal barrier champions. You're just going to fight your way through. No real special situation here. Just make sure you use cover, as when you come out of this hallway you will be greeted by not only the barrier champions but a minotaur, so you just gotta be a little careful on this part. Alright, so once you've made your way through that room, you'll get into the next open area here. And now my recommendation for this part is to use the rocks as cover, because the enemies on the other side will have some good range on you, and that Colossus can take away your classy restoration if you are using restoration. And then there's a couple snipers over there that can definitely deal some damage. So I personally like this rock over to the left where the data lettuce is. Now from here you can see I've got a good vantage point at the barrier champion, which my teammate has frozen, and then we can take him out pretty easily while maintaining good cover from the snipers on the right side. Now what you will notice here coming up is that my teammate just went down. He was actually hit by both those snipers. It's unclear if one of them can one-shot you at his resilience level, but if both of them hit you, you will probably die. Like he was hit by both of them at the same time. So definitely be careful, use the cover, and just kind of work your way through this room. Alright, so now that you've made your way through that room, you're going to get to the plate holding section with Kargan. So you want to shoot Kargan to activate this area without getting too close, because if you get too close they will hit you into the wall and you can die. It's like a big physics push. Now you want to avoid the mistake that I made here and rush through the portal too early, because there are two unstoppable champions that come through and you may end up missing platinum. You can see as I'm running through the portal, two champions appear and I am unable to get back through the portal. So you want to make sure you stick out the whole fight before you move on and avoid that mistake. Alright, so now you're moving on to the next open area here. This is where some people might have a lot of problem. I just wanted to call out here that that arc floor can kill you, and it actually killed one of my teammates here. And then also when you get to this open room, there's a barrier champion with one of the solar machine guns, so they will delete you pretty quickly, even though it is it's not arc burn. But yeah, so there's my ally dying there to the arc floor. It's hard to see for some people, depending on your graphical settings, but you just want to hug that left wall. You can see there's some dirt there, and that'll help keep you alive. Nothing special for this room. Like I said, you're just going to kind of empty out all the guys when you first get in there, and you want to jump onto these platforms and shoot Kargan from a distance. That'll proc the next phase of this fight. And what I like to do is go over to this right side of the room. There's two portals, but you have a lot of cover over here. So ads will come out of those portals at the beginning of each phase, but you can use grenades to instantly melt them. Just be careful, because there are some scions that spawn in the other one that I was not facing, as well as this barrier champion. So use your cover and just be careful and aware of those spawns. But otherwise you're just going to clear out the room slow and steady. There's no need to rush through this. Alright, so once you've cleared out everything, you're going to grab the spark and it's going to go to the right portal, or the right drop-off point first. Wait for your teammates to come back you up, and you're going to kill the one barrier champion as quickly as possible. And then just deposit that orb. Again, nothing out of the ordinary from the normal strike here, other than the fact that it's a champion and things will hit a little harder. Now once you do end up dunking this, you're going to want to go back to kind of home base over on that right side. Looking back, it's going to be your left side. But you're just going to kind of repeat the same process you did before. Stick behind the cover, clear out all the ads. It's rinse and repeat, and then you're going to move on to the final boss. Alright, so now that you've cleared all that out, you're going to make your way to the final boss, jump down. There's no real reason to shoot all those guys, but you can if you want extra score or a chance at some extra heavy ammo. But otherwise, Kargan clears them all out. You're going to take the plate, and then you're going to begin the first damage phase immediately. Now for this part, I recommend killing all the dogs as quickly as possible, because they will kill you pretty quickly. The Legionnaires, they'll throw grenades, but for the most part it's the dogs that are the bigger threat. But the biggest threat you have to watch out for is Kargan's Void damage. Those little balls and the Void trails actually can kill you pretty quickly. So I like to jump on this platform over here and do my damage from up here, but as I'll show you here in a second, those Void trails can actually climb up the architecture and kill you very quickly. So here's a clip of me actually dying literally immediately before the even explosion went off. Now if you're not confident in your team's ability to take all 3 plates simultaneously, just do it as a group. There's no real reason to take the 3 plates in the second part of this fight. Just do it as a group if you're not confident in your abilities to do it individually. Otherwise, I recommend just going back to your pillar, taking out the incinerators, and then beginning to do second round of DPS. And this should take you to the end of the fight. Again, this is a pretty repetitive encounter. There's nothing overly different about this one. But yeah, that should take you to the end of the fight, and hopefully get you closer to your seal and title. But now I'm going to go into the different loadout options that I recommend here. Alright, as for loadouts, here's kind of my recommendation. It's always going to depend on what your personal situation is. For weapons, I'll start there. I definitely recommend Arbalest. It's great just in general. Breaks any shield type, gives you disruption break. You can put out a lot of good damage with Arbalest on champions. And it covers your anti-barrier without having to use a mod slot. I recommend a Void or Arc Scout. Void Scout's probably better than Arc just because of the Void burn, but there are both Arc and Void shields, so keep that in mind as you're planning your team. There's a couple different Void Scouts out there, but this one here, the Ash's Embrace, I kind of recommend that one just because it's rapid fire. I personally don't have the best roll for it. But if you have a good one, go for that. Otherwise, you just need something that can handle Unstoppable. For heavy, this is kind of a tricky one. So, Red Herring and Royal Entry are your Void Rockets. They're going to put out a lot of good damage because of the Void Burn, but I would really only recommend them if you're using Galahorn, or someone on your team is using Galahorn. Otherwise, I would stick to Linears. Again, if you have a Void Linear, go for that. Otherwise, I used Storm Chaser in mine, and it was fine. You're just going to do a little bit extra damage with that Void Burn. Alright, as far as mods go, for my build, I'm doing Starfire Protocol. So this is going to be kind of tailored to that. I do, your Heavy Ammo Finder and Harmonic Siphon if you're doing any kind of solar damage with solar weapons. Otherwise you could swap that out to something else. And then Explosive Wellmaker, just because with grenades and rockets, if you're using rockets, that'll just help make those extra wells. As far as gloves, you got your Unstoppable Scout on there with an Elemental Ordnance, and then Bolstering Detonations to help you get back your Rift a little quicker. Starfire, nothing special here. I have Seeking Wells on mine, but then I did 1 Arc Resist just because there's a fair amount of arc damage. You could potentially switch that to 2 Arc Resist, but there's also a little bit of solar damage going on here, and void damage from some of the Minotaurs. So I kind of just recommend doing 1 each, just to give you that extra bit of help. But the main key there is going to be getting to tier 9 or tier 10 resilience, so you get that extra damage reduction from that. Boots, I have solar boots just for Well of Life, and if any orbs come up, I can get recuperation off of that. And then the kind of key for this season is going to be your Classy Restoration. I used Utility Kickstart on that just to get it back even faster, but that's going to be kind of the main thing keeping you alive here. For Aspects and Fragments, this is going to be where you have a little bit of wiggle room. If you're doing Starfire like myself, Empowering Rift is your only option there. I prefer Celestial Fire just because you have the range on it. You're kind of stuck with Fusion Grenades and of course your Glide of choice. Touch of Flames for range of standard. You could swap out Dash for Heat Rises, because Heat Rises will let you consume your grenade and get health. But I prefer Dash just because it gives you that extra mobility, and it does help you get out of some sticky situations. For fragments, definitely don't recommend changing the first 3, Torches, Solace, and Ashes. I feel like those are pretty standard. The only one I recommend like having some flexibility on here is Ember of Char. So you could put Empyrean in here if you're using a solar weapon. I prefer Char just for the extra discipline. It got me to 100. And also it helps your ignition spread to other targets, spread scorch to other targets. So it just helps you do that little bit of extra damage. But this is your flex slot. So anything here you can kind of play around with. And then Well of Radiance, kind of your standard there. Now, if you are going to go Stasis, this is another good one I would recommend, because you can do your turrets and Glacial Harvest combo, do Whisper of Conduction, Chains, Durance, and Shards, and then I also recommend doing a Glacier Grenade, just to help put up a wall and help block off any incoming fire. It just is extra cover you can kind of throw up as need be. But otherwise, you're just going to be using your grenades as turrets, helping to freeze everything. And then if you're going to do that, I recommend Eye of Another World as your helmet. So let me pull that over here real quick. And again, you'll swap the mods around here. But this is going to help you get your grenade melee and rift back faster. Now just keep in mind that this will not work with Classy Restoration. So you're going to be purely relying on your freeze to help keep you alive, and you'll free up your energy slot here. So if you're going to do that, I would recommend 2 bombers like this one here, and then you got like your flex slot. You could also go with Revitalizing Blast. That's actually probably a better choice. I'd probably go 1 bomber, 1 Revitalizing Blast, because your freeze will reset a champion stun. So you can consistently stun them and freeze them back to back, and that's going to do a lot of extra damage for you. So you'll get ignitions off of just stunning champions, and you'll be able to just kill them off of those stuns, basically. But yeah, so that's it as far as loadouts go. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.